Hello everyone. This is like my fourth attempt to try to record this video, and at this point I am over the introductions because I feel like I've done like 4 introductions and it's just not coming out right. But I will say this. I was debating a little bit on whether I should like do videos or not, just because when I watch PlannerTube, it's always like a system of notebooks that people are like using, and it's always like multiple notebooks that make up a system. And for me, I have found that what works best is one notebook, one singular notebook. And I think it was last year and even the year before where I did multiple notebooks. I don't remember. No, actually, the year before I just had one. But last year I tried multiple notebooks, and by the end of September, I ditched everything, and I stood using only my Hobonichi Weeks. And so going into this year, I kind of wanted to start with only my Hobonichi Weeks as well. Now, there was this little guy who ended up sneaking into my lineup because I was using it as a journal, and I didn't want to abandon it. So this one did come into 2024 with me, but I'm actually going to be finishing it in January. I have only 5 more entries left in here, and that's it. So this one's going to be done by January, and then I will only be in this book 100%. I feel like my camera's shaking, and I don't know how to make it stop. I'm not sure why it's doing that, but bear with me. Hopefully it stops doing that. I'm not sure why it's doing that. Like, everything's pretty tight. Maybe it's my table that's moving. I don't know. But anyway, so I will show you guys what's been going on in my Hobonichi Weeks. This cover is from Bujo Planner. And I love it. I love it. It's funny. This actually went out of stock immediately. And then there was a glitch in the website, and it went back up, and I purchased it, and she emailed me and was like, that's actually already sold, but if you want, I can make you one. And that's how I ended up getting it. So, that was a very happy accident that like the website glitched and she actually still did the product for me. So that's the cover, Bujo Planner. Love it. I don't even know what the combination is. So, yeah. And then I have my Mega Weeks. So this week's was supposed to be where I would do dailies. Okay, that was the whole idea behind it. I was going to do dailies in the back. And I think that once December finished, it kind of all fell apart. Because I did not, like, December was very busy for me. Basketball season was going on in my job. Then there was like the holidays, events that you're attending related to the holidays. So December was super busy. And I was like, oh yeah, dailies. Like, I totally need this. But once January hit and life just kind of like went back to normal, then I found myself just repeating the same information on my dailies and in my weeklies. And I'm not someone that likes repeating information, so it just became very kind of like repetitive, and I was like, oh my goodness, like this is such a waste of paper because I'm repeating the same thing in my dailies and in my weeklies. So let's start there. And then I feel like I was being super unproductive because I'm not used to doing dailies, so I would just spend the day flipping back and forth between my weeks and my dailies and not getting anything done because I felt like I was losing information. And I realized that the dailies just were not working for me. They were not working for me. So what I ended up doing, and I'll go through my weeklies first, and then I will go through my notes pages just to show you guys like what this looks like so far. So this was just my month of December. And in my month of December, I actually put my monthly tracker in the back in the notes pages, but I knew right away that that was not going to work for me because I needed it to be accessible and for me not to have to like go through pages to find it. My monthly is something that I always have tabbed off. So in January, I have put it in my monthly view, and this is working much better. So at least that one's figured out. And then this is just things that are coming up, and then I'll go through what's happened in my weekly so far. So this was the first week that I did in here, very similar to what I did all of last year, right? A habit tracker, priorities, a little memory blurb in the bottom. This felt really boring for me. And I was like, no, this is what I did all of last year. This is what I did the year before that as well. So I was like, no, this isn't working for me. So I ended up doing journaling here. And that did work, and I liked it. I liked the way this looked. But the only thing with that was I was really missing having priorities. Like having my priorities kind of list here. I was missing that. So I went back to that. And you can tell this is the week before winter break because I didn't get anything done in my priorities. So then I was like, ugh, how about I just instead do a priorities list in a sticky note, and then it could just migrate with me and I can pull things from there. So that's what ended up happening, right? I think this was, no, here I was still doing dailies and I was doing highlights here. But this changes for me. Oh, and they're shoveling snow again. Right, this changes for me. But I was in winter break here, so I was still pretty much busy. I was doing highlights. So I found that this was working for me, and that the extension to this, like extending the day in this margin, gave me a thought. So I was like, okay, what if I just extend the margin of the day and I use this for to-dos or anything that I feel like using it in. And instead of using it for highlights, like if I want to use it for highlights, I can. But if I instead want to use that for like to-dos or anything, I can do that and get rid of my daily, because I did feel like I needed extra space in my weekly, but I did not need an entire daily in the back. I just needed more space for that day in my weekly view. And I started using a sticky note as my priorities, and then it would just migrate from week to week, which you're gonna see here. Okay, so you'll see here, I stopped using this for highlights. Instead, it says like I took pills for a migraine. Here, this was just a note, right? The walk today was freezing. It was 5 degrees outside. Yeah, so I just started using this as an extension of my day, and I was like, this kind of made everything click. I needed extra space in my weeklies, and I spent all of last year. I'll show you guys what my Hobonichi Weeks of last year looked like. All right, I spent all of last year kind of wanting more space, but not knowing how to do it. And actually, I didn't even do that line for most of last year. That was towards the end of the year. But like, say here, right, where I like the way this looks, but I really needed some extra space, and I didn't know how to give myself that extra space. Whereas now, I feel like if the week is going to be super busy, and I know beforehand that it is going to be busy, I can just use the extension and use this margin here as an extension of the day, and that kind of fixed that need for a little bit of extra space, but not exactly needing dailies. All right, and then this was last year. This was last week. Right, I am filming this in the 20th of January. So this was last week. And again, like I don't always need that extra space. So like there was 2 days here where I didn't necessarily need it, and I just put down some deco and that's it. So I don't always need the space, but if I do need the space, it's there and it works. It works. So now I had kind of figured out my weeklies, and then I was like, what the heck am I going to do with all my dailies? Because I specifically bought the Mega because I had plans to do dailies. And now I was kind of like, okay, what the heck am I going to do with all these extra notes pages? So I'm going to show you guys kind of like the journey of my notes pages back here. Right, this is how my notes pages started with my dailies. I hated this because I felt like I was putting in too much effort shrinking down my handwriting, where this was just supposed to be a little bit more comfortable back here. And I decided to get rid of shrinking down my handwriting. So this was that December tracker that I was talking about, that I put it in my notes pages, and then this didn't work because I needed to look for it. So I ended up moving my monthly tracker to the monthly view, and now that works. And then this is when I was doing my dailies in December. So as you can see, like, they look good. They are filled up. I was using them for the month of December, and I had things to write here, which was good. But then once December kind of like came to a close, I didn't really know what to use or what to write in these pages, right? So this was January, like the first week. Here I had no to-dos. Like, I realized the to-dos fit all in my weekly view, so I just did a little blurb here. And the same thing happened here as well. And you can see that, like, I wasn't having much to write, so I gave up in January 8th. And January 8th, everything that's written here is also written in my weekly view. And I was like, oh my God, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not doing this anymore. So I am part of Megan Rhiannon's Patreon, and she posted this. And I just printed it out on sticker paper. No, this is not sticker paper. I just printed it out on regular printer paper, and I put it in here. And then I was like, you know what? I knew that I was going to be finishing this notebook soon. I only have 5 entries left. So I was like, okay, I am finishing this notebook soon. So what if I just move? And I had planned to get another notebook for journaling, since I knew that I was pretty much going to be done with this one. And I was like, instead of getting another notebook, since I am no longer doing dailies, how about if I just move the journaling that I was doing in this Hobonichi Weeks, and when it finishes, I will just move this to my Mega and have my journaling together with my planner instead of having dailies. And I feel like when I did this, it all clicked. I was like, okay, okay, I have it figured out. Like, I'm going to move my journaling into this notebook, and it clicked. I like the way it looks. I really do. Like, it looks pretty neat back here. I'm not using a pencil board to write, which was kind of like my goal, because in the past years, I've been really reliant on pencil boards to try to write straight. So I'm not writing a pencil board with this. And I really like the way it looks. So this makes me happy. This makes me happy. It's like, okay, I have my notes pages figured out. I'm just going to be using them as a regular journal. And then I will be using my weekly views for planning. So nothing like groundbreaking, but really kind of like, it feels good to have finally figured out my Mega. And it's January, so it took me a little bit because I've been in this since the last week of November, and it's close to the end of January at this point. It's the 20th, so a little past the middle of the month mark, but it feels so good to know what I'm doing with my notebook now for the rest of the year. And that might change. Like, if I'm going to have a super busy month and I do want to all of a sudden have a daily in the back, like, sure, I'm not opposed to like putting in a daily in here, but it just feels good to know that I have this figured out, because I really felt pretty darn lost for a little bit there, especially once January hit, or even I would say after Christmas, that life just kind of slowed down. I will say this, it was a little funny because I came across this article of someone talking about the new Tomoe River paper, or the Sanzen paper, and it was her first year ever buying a Hobonichi Weeks, and she was like, people are just being dramatic, like the paper, it performs exactly as it should. And in my mind, I'm like, but that's your first Hobonichi Weeks purchase, so you have nothing to compare it to, you know, like you have nothing to compare it to. How can you say that we're being dramatic? And then I kind of was looking at my past Hobonichi Weeks. Oh, look at perfect. And something that I've done in my last 2 Hobonichi Weeks, and also this little guy here, is that I've always used Zig Clean Color dot markers if I felt like it, whether it's to mark dates or habits or anything. Let me see. I'm trying to find another one where I did it. Okay, here's perfect. Oh, look it. in all of these I did them. This is a Zig Clean Color dot marker. If I turn the page, there's absolutely no bleed through. You do not know that it's even there. Same thing here, Zig Clean Color dot marker. If I turn the page, nothing, no ghosting, no bleed through, no nothing, okay? I had plans to use a Zig Clean Color dot marker for some habits in here. And I did a test. I'm going to show you guys. And I hope the camera picks it up. I hope so. Okay. So here are my Zig Clean Color dot markers. If I turn the page, you can clearly see this. Like, I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but I can clearly see every single color. And the last one, this one right here, like that one just straight up bled through. It bled right through the page. Like there's a dot where it just went straight through the page. So, and I can tell that the pigmentation is not distributed the way it was in my other Hobonichi Weeks. My pen also writes differently in this paper. And I think it's because I'm still currently writing on the old Hobonichi Weeks because I'm using this one still as a journal because it hasn't finished. So like the texture of this page as well, which was funny because I was doing this to my husband. I was like, feel the paper. let me see. I want to get one where it's just writing on it. Okay, right, well, here, even the sound is different. Like this one is so smooth and slippery, and I kind of hate it because it's almost like my pen doesn't grip and it just like drags on the paper. Whereas here, it's almost like tooth, like it has tooth on it, and that doesn't happen here. So it's so much easier to write on this paper than it is here. That being said, I do love the Hobonichi Weeks as a product. I hate this paper. I hate the paper, but I still love the planner. So I'm sticking it through, and I'm really hoping that they like figure it out for the next launch. I mean, I know the spring launch is going to be screwed because that I'm pretty sure already went into production when these were being purchased. So the spring launch is screwed up, but I'm hoping that for the 2026 Hobonichi Weeks, they can get this paper issue kind of like under control because it's really just like, it sucks. This paper really sucks. And things just bleed through. So things that did not bleed through or did not shadow in any of my Hobonichi Weeks in the past, in this one, they just straight up bleed right through the page. And the Zig Clean Color dot markers are one of those. Another one is like my Tombos. If I pass my Tombos a little too much, they also bleed through the page. No, not the mild liner. The mild liner is good. But my Tombos, you have to kind of like be careful with them. There's a lot of shadowing here. But that's like, the shadowing doesn't bother me. That I would say. I don't really care about shadowing. I actually like the way it looks when you can see through the page and like text-wise. But what I don't like is the bleed through. When the bleed through breaks through the page, like the ink breaks through the page, that's when it's like, no. And it did happen in one of my pages. But the thing is, I can't even show it to you because I covered it up. I'm trying to remember where it even happened. But I covered it up with like a sticker or something. So I don't even have it to show you. But yeah, so I think that's the thing with this one. I feel like this planner will grow on me more once I'm completely done with this one. Because the problem is, since I'm writing in this planner, I'm still having the experience of this paper. But once this planner finishes and I'm forced to only write in the new one, then I'll accept it because I won't be having the experience with this paper anymore. But since I'm currently still writing in this notebook, then it's almost like the paper quality is a lot more obvious to me. So that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that once I completely finish this one off, then I'll be able to just accept it and move on. So it does take more effort to write in here, especially like journal entries. but it's not the end of the world. And I'm sure once I finish with this little notebook, I'll accept it a little better. But yeah, like this is going to be my planner system for 2025. One book to rule them all. Here I have I actually found a use for this, right? My husband works for a Jewish company and he gets like the list of days off of Jewish holidays in a year. And that's what I'm using this for. So I actually found like a good use for this, so, which I'm shocked. This is my index. So habit tracking here, keeping track of appointments in my monthly view and in my weekly view, journaling in the back. Like, this is my all-in-one book. It really is my all-in-one book. I will say this. It will be the last year that I get a mega because it doesn't fit in any other cover. And I have invested quite a bit of money in my Hobonichi zipper covers. Like, I have the berry, I have the tweed, I have the forbidden fruit. So I have a little nice collection of Hobonichi Weeks zipper covers. I had the knot one, but I sold it because I never used it. It was brand new. I never used it. So that one I sold, but the other ones that I have, I love. And this brick does not fit into any of them whatsoever. I'm used to being able to slot my notebook into both sides of the zipper covers, and I actually don't have my zipper covers here, but I've been able to do that every single year, and the binding of my notebooks has not broken. I know they say that's not good for the binding, but I have done it to every single one of my notebooks, and my bindings are all just fine. So I'm used to being able to slot my notebook into both sides of the zipper covers and close it, and this one makes it feel like my zipper cover is going to pop out of place. Like, it feels like if it's going to break the teeth of the zipper out of how thick it is. So for that reason, I know I'm not going to be buying the mega again. But maybe I'll do something where I'll get two standards, right? Like, I'll have one standard for my planning, and then I'll have another standard just for journaling. I honestly loved doing this last year. It's this notebook where I just journaled. I ignored the dates and just would put a swatch of color and just journal. And I loved doing this in a standard as well. So I think that's what I'm leaning towards next year, so that I can continue to use my zipper covers because I love my zipper covers. And this is the only cover that this planner fits in right now. So I guess it's going to stay in here all year because it doesn't fit into any of my other covers. So I love this planner. I'm going to enjoy it. I think the design is super cute. I'm glad that I got a design that I loved, because it would have sucked to have bought a design that I wasn't crazy about and then have the added bonus of my zipper covers not even being able to use them. But I do love this design, so I don't mind looking at it for a year. But I don't think that I would be purchasing the mega again because it's too thick. It's too thick, and I can't use it with any of my zipper covers, which I really love using my zipper covers. So yeah, that's it. That's my little update video on how my Hobonichi Weeks is going. It's going great. It will be going better once I finish this little notebook and can get over the little paper tantrum that my brain is throwing. And yeah, I know there are some people that just kind of like gave up on Hobonichi this year and just like moved on to personal rings. I've seen that in a couple of channels already where it's like the paper people just hate the experience. And I actually was watching Adri's vlog, which she's a new channel. I don't even know if she has 2,000 followers, but I love watching her videos. She talks about books and she talks about like her Hobonichi Weeks and her Hobonichi cousin, but I watch more for like the Hobonichi Weeks and like the books or whatever. Not that I have the same taste as books in her, I actually don't, but it's interesting seeing like what other people read because I'm more of like a fantasy and novels reader, and she tends to read more just like information books, which is not my thing, but I enjoy hearing other people talk about them. So there's that little shout out there. And yeah, like if you're someone that has ditch the Hobonichi Weeks, or if you are planning to stick with it and make it work the way I am, please let me know in the comments. Because I feel like right now it's kind of like split in the middle. There's those of us that are like toughing it out, and then there's those that have kind of just like given up on Hobonichi at this point. So let me know in which category you fall into in the comments section below. Have a great day, everyone.